The American protests, the student protests running across the states, some with the extreme demand that universities join the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, which very few universities are willing to consider. But the idea that there are so many universities that are tied up with money that is linked to Israel, of course, because so many of the universities are funded directly by endowments, and many of those have been made by people with links to Israel in one form or another, and it's very difficult to avoid that. But the sit-ins, the protests, not only by students but by senior members of staff, by lecturers and by people with tenure who have been taken away in police escorts and saying, tell my students that their lesson won't take place today. Quite remarkable scenes. Demonstrates the move that is taking place against the assumed support for Israel at any cost. Netanyahu has crossed that red line and has wrecked the assumption that the US will always support Israel. He has gone too far. And I don't think it's simply that he has killed too many people. I think that he took a decision to unilaterally attack Gaza, to raze it to the ground, and he wants to continue the job in Rafah. And he must be resisted. He must be persuaded to accept reason, and he must, I believe, stand trial for what he has done to his country, for the failure to provide proper security leading up to the October the 7th atrocity, and for the belligerent and vengeful attacks that he's conducted since then, which have not released the hostages and which have not secured peace in Israel. Now, people in the comment section have said, well, governments, I say that Netanyahu has turned Israel into a pariah state. Governments have not stopped supporting Israel. Governments have not withdrawn their diplomatic links with Israel. No, they haven't. But the mood of countries has shifted. And when you look at the mood in the United States on the campuses, that is a very clear sign. It takes us back to the demonstrations in the 1960s for human rights, for opposition to Vietnam. And with an election year this year, I think this movement will have a significant impact on what happens in November. And the assumption that was made only a very short space of time ago that Mr. Trump had an easy glide into the White House again, I think can no longer be made. I think there's going to be quite an interesting battle, and it's partly a result of Netanyahu's actions in Israel.